Give me a thumbs up when you think we are ready to. I was busy looking down and didn't see your thumbs up. All right. Bonjour à tous.
Hello to all. I now open the meeting. Welcome to the meeting number 3, actually, of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage.
Adopted by the committee on Monday, January the 31st. The committee's meeting on challenges related to the recovery of arts, culture, heritage, and sports sectors, which have been deeply impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Today's meeting is taking place.
Okay, thanks.
Can you mute? Can everyone please mute when they're not, if they're not speaking?
Okay.
Because we're hearing background noises. Thank you. All right. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format and pursuant to the House Order of November the 25th, 2021. Members are attending in person in the room and also remotely using the Zoom application. The proceedings will be made available via the House of Commons website. So you're aware the webcast will always show the person speaking rather than the entire committee. Today's meeting is also taking place in a webinar format. Webinars are for public committee meetings and are available only to members, their staff, and witnesses. Members enter immediately as active participants. All functionalities for active participants remain the same. Staff will be non-active participants and can therefore only view the meeting in gallery view. I would like to take this opportunity to remind all participants to this meeting that screenshots or taking photos of your screen is not permitted. Given the ongoing pandemic situation and in light of the recommendation from health authorities to remain healthy and safe, all those attending the meeting in person must maintain a 2-meter physical distancing, must wear a non-medical mask when circulating in the room, and is highly recommended that the mask be worn at all times, including when seated, and I like to add including when speaking. Must maintain proper hand hygiene by using the provided hand sanitizer that you are given in the room. The hand sanitizers on the wall. As the chair, I will be reinforcing these measures during the meeting, and I thank members in advance for their cooperation. To ensure an orderly meeting, I would like to outline a few rules to follow. Members and witnesses may speak in the official language of their choice. Interpretation services are available for this meeting. And if you look, you will find a button that says interpretation. You can press it on your choice, English or French. And if interpretation is lost, please inform me immediately and we will ensure interpretation is properly restored before resuming the proceedings. The raise hand feature at the bottom of the screen, or if you're using an iPad, at the top of the screen, can be used at any time if you wish to speak or alert the chair. For members participating in person, proceed as you would when the whole committee is meeting in person in a committee room. Keep in mind the Board of Internal Economy's guidelines for mask use and health protocols. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. If you are on the video conference, please click on the microphone icon to mute yourself at all times. But then if you want to speak and I recognize you, you can unmute. Those in the room, your microphone will be controlled as normal by the proceedings and verification officer. For those in remote, that's what you have to do. Use your hand and go on mute and off mute. A reminder that all comments by members and witnesses should be addressed to the chair. And now I would really very much like to introduce our witnesses. The witness list, which I'm going to read to you in a moment, is as follows. We have today the Canadian Association for the Performing Arts. We have Drayton Entertainment, International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE, New York Center for the Arts, Regroupement des événements majeurs internationaux, and Saxtel. These are the 6 witnesses that we have. And so I just have some comments that I need to give to the witnesses with regard to how this works for you. And if I can find it, I will tell you, but I can't find it. Okay, now here I haven't found it. Sorry. Okay. Um, so when we resume the first panel, after the first panel, I will then move into the second panel. And so I want to welcome our witnesses below. And again, if you're having problems with us hearing you, the chair will let you know if we cannot hear you, and we will be able to fix the thing so that we can get on with what we have to do in an orderly manner. So I shall begin with now, witnesses, you have a 5-minute time slot in which to speak. I will let you know if you, at 4 minutes, whether you are, you have a minute left so that you can kind of cut back what you're going to say. So, because I will cut you off, I will have to enforce this if everybody's going to get a chance to speak and everyone's going to get a chance to ask questions. So we're going to be really kind of rigid here on this. Of course, unless something happens and you cannot use your microphone or we cannot hear you, then we will suspend so that everything can be fixed. So when speaking, speak slowly and clearly. When you're not speaking, your mic should be on mute. Now, the committee clerk and I will do our best to maintain a consolidated order of speaking in the order that I put the witnesses initially. So we will begin, as I said, with one group. After you've spoken for 5 minutes, there will be a question and answer session. And again, the members know what that question and answer session will look like. Each political party will have an opportunity to ask a question. Normally, given the timelines, we may only be able to go with 2 rounds, but if we do, there might be a 3rd round of questions. But so there we are. I shall ask you to begin. Okay, I'm going to ask my first witness to begin. Working from your dining room table is not the best thing to do because you don't have the ability to put all your notes in the same kind of order than you like to. Other than that, I'm going to have to get a bigger dining room table. All right, so here we go. And so we shall begin with the Canadian Association for the Performing Arts. Mr. Julien, Frederic Julien, who is Director of Research and Development. Mr. Julien, for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for conducting this important study and for the opportunity to appear before the committee today. All parts of the cultural sector were profoundly affected by the COVID pandemic, although none as deeply as the live performance domain, which includes performing arts companies, music venues, performing arts centers, festivals, and many individual artists. While the business model of the performing arts used to be a successful one, it was definitely not pandemic-proof. Earned revenues from ticket sales, concession, and rentals used to represent as much as 43% of performing arts companies' revenues in 2018. In March 2020, the unimaginable happened. Most of these revenues suddenly disappeared. According to Statistics Canada's National Culture Indicators, the real GDP of the live performance domain fell 66% over the first 2 quarters of 2020. And then it stayed there as successive waves of the pandemic led to rolling cancellations and postponements of performances. There were encouraging signs of recovery during the 3rd quarter of 2021, but those were quickly dashed by the Omicron wave. Employment also fell sharply, although not quite as deeply as GDP. By the 2nd quarter of 2020, the sector had lost 34,000 jobs, 47% of its workforce. Thanks to support measures such as the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, employment levels stabilized throughout the rest of 2020 and eventually rebounded in the 3rd quarter of 2021, but they are still 38% below pre-pandemic levels. It remains difficult to predict if this rebound will hold and what employment growth levels might be expected in 2022. At a town hall held on January 25th, Capicua members told us they anticipate challenges in rehiring and retraining personnel. Casual, part-time, and contract workers were among the first to be laid off, may have taken full-time jobs in other sectors where salaries can keep up with the increasing cost of life. In particular, the scarcity of stage technicians is a big concern. What's the incentive for these workers to come back to the performing arts sector? Our members believe sustainable recovery has to involve sustainable employment. The precarious situation of self-employed workers in particular is top of mind for everyone in our membership. Through the loss of income arising from cancellations of performances, everyone realized just how vulnerable these artists and technicians are. Programs such as the Tourism and Hospitality Recovery Program and the Canada Performing Arts Workers Resilience Fund are applauded by the sector, but will they be sufficient? Arts administrators are understaffed and feel overwhelmed by the demands of short-term emergency funding applications and reporting. They are also concerned that these programs may end well before the sector sees the recovery through. Performing arts organizations are currently laying out 3 to 5 year plans for their rebuilding. Besides labor issues, the performing arts sector is also very preoccupied by changes in cultural behavior arising from the collective trauma of the pandemic. After having diligently listened to orders to stay home and to avoid social gatherings for almost 2 years, many arts goers are now hesitant to go back to the theater or the concert hall. According to a national study conducted by NANUS Research, 4 in 10 cultural goers are not yet ready to return to indoor performances. Another 1 in 10 say they may never return. Shared leadership and direct government assistance will be needed to rebuild consumer confidence. We have to shift the public perception from a live performance as a hazardous activity as it currently stands to a healthy and positive activity. According to the General Social Survey, people who attend plays, comedy shows, or concerts are 15% more likely to report very good or excellent mental health. Don't we all need this at the moment? Avant de conclure, il convient de souligner que cette crise...
Before I conclude, I think it's important to point out that this crisis also offers a chance to rebuild with new funding. And the performing arts sector wishes to continue working with Canadians, including Indigenous peoples. Online performances allow us to reach new theatre watchers. And this allows us to create new performance partnerships for performing arts and tourism.
Le mouvement des données ouvertes
Open data movements allow us to offer shows in ways that people can consume more easily. That said, the employees of the theatre and performing arts sector are mentally and physically exhausted. It will take time to rebuild our sector. Using new approaches will be necessary and will take some time. They need the full back up of their associations and in the government in order to take the central place on the stage that they should have in our country.
Thank you, Mr. Julian. And now we're going to get to the question and answer segment. And I begin with John Nader, Mr. Nader for the Conservatives, for 6 minutes.
Madam, the assumption was that we were going to hear from all the witnesses and then go to questions and comments?
Right, all right. If you'd like that, we will do that then, so that I will go next to, so you got to be making good notes, guys. Okay, Drayton Entertainment and Alex Mustakas, Artistic Director and Chief Executive Officer, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Hello and greetings from a very snowy Kitchener-Waterloo, Perth, Wellington. I'd like to begin by quoting the late, great actor Charlie Chaplin, who summed up how arts sector workers are feeling around the country at the moment. He once said, I like to walk in the rain so that no one can see my tears. So thank you, Madam Chair and committee members, for allowing me a few minutes to come in from the rain, or today the snow, to appear before you. Special thank you for the support we've received over the past 2 years from our region's members, Mr. Lewis and Mr. Nader. Drayton Entertainment is an award-winning charitable arts organization that produces professional live theater as a unique circuit of 7 venues throughout Ontario. Pre-pandemic, we entertained over 250,000 theater goers annually, and with millions in economic impact. I can probably best summarize the effect of the pandemic on arts and culture, hospitality, tourism, of course, sports, by referring to Greek mythology. Some of you may know the story of Sisyphus. He was banned to Hades, and his only job was to push a boulder up a hill. When it got to the top, it would roll down again, and he would do it over and over for eternity. And I guess in modern day terms, you could call it Groundhog Day. I have no doubt you all feel this way. The loss of our programming over the past 2 years has caused significant hardships, not only on us and our arts workers, but also on our municipalities and our tourism and hospitality sector partners who rely on us as a major driver of multiple regional economies. Many challenges for our sector, of course. I will say the government has displayed remarkable leadership in the midst of so many obstacles. Thank you then for the recent announcement regarding the Performing Arts Workers Resilience Fund. I know it was championed by our colleagues at Canadian Actors Equity, IATSE, and the Canadian Federation of Musicians, just to name a few. Thank you for including artists in CERP support. Thank you for employer emergency wage subsidies. Thank you for emergency rent support, and thank you for emergency operating support for many arts organizations. As we move forward to recovery, we've identified 4 support recommendations for the committee, and they include, number 1, the extension and expansion of emergency wage support programs. We respectfully request that this program be extended beyond the initial May 7th period through the summer of 2022 and perhaps beyond. This will allow arts organizations the flexibility we need to bring back more workers and position us for recovery. This would help greatly as we're losing skilled sector workers to other professions. For some reason, everyone wants to be a real estate agent at the moment. We would also request that the qualifying criteria for emergency wage support be expanded for our sector to include gig workers, enabling arts organizations to include these contract workers as employees in emergency wage support claims would reduce financial risk while still navigating a path forward to recovery. As a byproduct, this would undoubtedly aid in the mental health and well-being of artists and arts workers attempting to sustain their livelihood in this sector. Second recommendation would be the ability to mitigate fixed costs. The Canada Emergency Rent Subsidy has been a lifeline for those venues we rent. However, there has not been a similar program available for those venues that are owned. In the interest of maintaining equity within the arts sector, among renters and venue owners, utility costs for both should perhaps be considered eligible under a modified cost relief program. Third recommendation, an arts recovery incentive program. As we look to the future, a matching dollar arts recovery incentive fund will enable arts organizations to tap into the philanthropy of our audiences.
Minute, Mr. Mistakis.
Thank you, knowing that their gifts will be matched by the government of Canada. Another final recommendation would be to destigmatize the return of large gatherings. I think we look to our elected officials for guidance when it is safe to return back to arts activity and to gatherings. So I think it's imperative that the government launch a comprehensive marketing, communications, and PR strategy that alleviates the fear and stigma many Canadians will feel upon a return to social events. We need a message of positivity, of respect, and of kindness, as many need help getting out of that rabbit hole of the deepest, darkest depths of despair. We will get through this together, and I am here, and I stand with all my colleagues in the arts sector, including actors, dancers, singers, technicians, musicians.
Thank you, Mr.
So
Mistakis.
thank you.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No
thank
worries.
Thank you very much.
All good.
Thank you. And now we will go to International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE, who will present for 5 minutes. John Morgan Lewis, International Vice President and Director of Canadian Affairs. You have the floor for 5 minutes.
Thank you. And I was going to allow our previous speaker, he was lauding the compliments of the IA, so I was going to, I think we should allow that, but thank you for the time to be here today. And I'm here on behalf of the IATSE, which is the largest union in the entertainment industry, representing over 160,000 members, 30,000 of which are creative sector workers in Canada. The IA members are the people working behind the scenes to bring you entertainment. And because our work is performed backstage, most people don't realize that our skilled technicians and artisans make up the largest segment of creative workers. Our members include aerial riggers, lighting board programmers, wig builders, scenic artists and muralists, spotlight operators, dressers, costume builders, scenic artists, and soundboard operators. And throughout the pandemic, we partnered with our friends from Canadian Actors Equity, the Canadian Federation of Musicians, and the Associated Designers of Canada to form the Creative Industries Coalition, together representing over 50,000 arts workers. And as you've heard, the live performance industry was one of the hardest hit with the pandemic. And we shut down immediately. And unfortunately, our prediction that we'd be one of the last to reopen has proven to be accurate. And we are very appreciative of the government support we've received. The CERB, the CERB, and now the Canada Worker Lockdown Benefit has been a lifesaver for many entertainment workers, as the vast majority were not eligible for other government supports. As a coalition, we have met regularly with the former and current Minister of Heritage, officials from Heritage and Finance, MPs, and critics from all parties. We appreciate the time that federal officials have spent with us to address the concerns of the industry. Supports for the industry's return must be two-pronged, both for workers and for venues producers. You've been provided with documents detailing our suggestions, which I will briefly summarize. Support for workers. We welcome the newly announced Canada Performing Arts Workers Resilience Fund, but we must be clear, this is an emergency relief fund, not income support. Live performance workers will be the last to be able to get back to work, and we strongly recommend an income support benefit for live performance workers structured similarly to the CRB or the CERB. The Canada Worker Lockdown Benefit needs to be tweaked in a few ways. First, the industry will not be up and running by February 12th, the date that the expanded lockdown benefit is set to terminate, which will cause workers to leave the industry. The expanded eligibility must be extended beyond February 12th to a period of time when the industry is at least approaching normal. And workers who are out of work because capacity limits were introduced do not qualify for the lockdown benefit. Of those lucky enough to be working before capacity limits were introduced, many largely subsisted on CERB throughout 2020. So demonstrating a 50% drop from their 2020 income can be problematic. Live performance workers should qualify, regardless of work status, immediately prior to capacity limits. Further, if applicants for the expanded eligibility must demonstrate a 50% decrease in average weekly income to be eligible, it should be based on their 2019 income and not their 2020 income. Saskatchewan workers are not able to access support because the lockdown benefit, because that provincial government has not instituted capacity limits. But capacity limits are not the only COVID inhibitor to live production. These workers are still suffering like their counterparts in other provinces and should be eligible for lockdown benefits. And all theaters producers are in crisis, and regardless of not-for-profit or commercial status, and as in other countries, we strongly recommend that all be included in assistance programs. The wage subsidy programs only allow employers to receive subsidies for employees, which does not contemplate that the majority of their pre-pandemic payroll is for gig workers who are not eligible. Not including these workers has acted as a disincentive for producers to mount shows. If you're a producer and you're unsure whether capacity limits will be reintroduced or unsure if audiences feel confident enough to return, the safe bet is to keep your doors closed and not take on more risk. Expanding the wage subsidy to include any worker who receives a T4 or a T4A would both incentivize the industry to get back to work while underwriting risk. And mounting a show is typically a months-long process and risky at the best of times. And we need to reduce these risks. And two ways is a revenue top-up subsidy, which we understand is being discussed, and also a government-funded insurance for COVID closures and postponements, similar to what was introduced to the domestic film industry and successfully implemented in the UK and Australia. And long-term solutions must include a live production tax credit. We've seen the benefits to the film and television industry in this country. The need for support is real, And at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, do we want a thriving cultural industry in this country? And that answer is easy, of course.
10
But
seconds to wrap up.
the more telling question is whether we are prepared to make the necessary financial investments to ensure a stable industry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lewis. I now go on to the NIA Center for the Arts, and I think your presenter is Alicia Hall. For 5 minutes, Alicia. I will give you a 1 minute and a 30-second thing so you can wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Fry, and good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for this opportunity and putting the arts sector's recovery front and center. As Chair Fry mentioned, my name is Alika and I'm the Executive Director at NIA Center for the Arts. We're a charitable organization that has a mission to support and showcase art from the Afro diaspora, so supporting descendants of the African continent. For the past 12 years, we have been offering arts-based programs and services for Black artists to help them launch their careers, as well as to connect to new audiences through exhibitions and community cultural events. And now with the support of Canadian Heritage, we are transforming our 14,000 square foot facility in Toronto into Canada's first professional multidisciplinary center that's dedicated to Black artistic traditions, which is slated to open actually in fall of this year. So we actually started construction in October 2020 in the midst of the pandemic. We know that art spaces, as many of my colleagues on the call today have spoken about, are an important part of recovery because they are places where communities come together, because they are places where we help folks to make sense of all that we've experienced over the past 3 years, and because the center and like many other arts organizations will function as a creative and economic driver. As we present different disciplines, we connect young people to job opportunities, we draw audiences to new neighborhoods, and we support regional and hopefully one day international tourism. On the issue of recovery, I think as many have stated, the federal government has done an incredible job of pivoting and creating new and innovative programs that specifically support artists. And while there has been significant investment in the arts sector administered through oftentimes Canada Council and Canadian Heritage, these programs have not necessarily benefited arts organizations who are in the midst of building or who started building before the pandemic or during the pandemic, because eligibility often requires that an organization show a drop in revenue. Whereas for many arts organizations that started construction, the revenue that they're worried about, like ours, is about future revenue. We're going to experience a decrease in ticket sales as anticipated due to capacity limits. We're going to experience a lot less space rentals as people are not necessarily as confident about coming together and being inside the center. And so while we know that many organizations are on the precipice of renovating and opening new spaces and adding to important infrastructure across the country, we also know that the sustainability of those spaces is at risk. The other key issue is particularly for Black arts organizations. We know that over the past year, many Canadians have made donations to Black arts organizations. There has been research that came about last year that showed that only 7 cents on every philanthropic dollar was going to Black arts organizations. And with that information, many Canadians made a donation, but that has increased revenues for folks in the 2020 and 2021 year. And so again, would make us ineligible for some of the recovery programs that the government has already initiated. The other issue is around the administration of these funding programs through organizations like Canada Council. NIA Center is one of the few Black arts organizations that is supported with core operating funding through the council, but historically Black arts organizations haven't been funded through such organizations because we're not necessarily seen as traditional arts infrastructure. We're not, when we think of traditional arts and high arts, we think of opera and theater and ballet. And yet, in the past decade,
1 minute.
In the past decade, we've seen incredible artists come out of our city and put Canada on the world map. By the way, of course, I have to mention Drake and The Weeknd. And if we're going to continue to celebrate and see Black artistic traditions push Canada out into the international sphere and push forward key artists who are putting our country on the map, we need to invest in Black arts organizations and Black artistic traditions. And that's going to require us to make stronger connections between our communities and our existing arts infrastructure. And I'll leave it there and just echo the need to, of course, invite audiences to return back to indoor spaces, as many of my colleagues have said previously on the call. Looking forward to the question period. Thank you.
Thank you, Alika, and I'm sorry for calling you Alicia at the very beginning. I just need new glasses, I think. That's the problem. And now I would like to go to the regroupement des événements majeurs internationaux, and that is Martin Roy, who is the Chief Executive Officer. Mr. Roy.
Oui, bonjour à tous.
Yes, hello to all of you. Our association represents over 500 festivals and events in Canada. We were very pleased with the last budget. We thought then that the nightmare of COVID-19 was about to come to an end and that financial aid would help repair the damage done. Yet, a year later, we're still here asking for you to support our sector. The Major Festivals and Events Support Initiative, a new program up to $200 million, managed by the Regional Economic Development Agencies, isn't living up to all promises. I can say more about that if you wish during our discussion. As for Canadian Heritage, what I can say is that there's been a lot of confusion out in the field, and that remains the case to this day. Also, many members feel there have been injustices, at least a lack of understanding. The government chose to support major festivals with the initiative I just mentioned. However, it chose to send everyone else, that is, all events with annual revenues of less than $10 million, over to Canadian Heritage. There are about 25 of them in the initiative and about 1,000 supported by Canadian Heritage, where together they can count on much less than $200 million, so that's pretty lopsided to say the least. And it's not because there's too much money being given to the new initiative, it's just that Canadian Heritage doesn't have enough funding. The fact that the $200 million announced for local festivals is also being used for community cultural events and organizations such as outdoor theatre, heritage celebrations, local museums, and amateur sporting events, and I could go on, according to the budget itself, is also an issue. It leaves very little for festivals and events relative to their needs, relative to the scale of the disaster in our sector, and compared to their numbers as well. To distribute the money in the budget, Canadian Heritage has chosen to set up a stimulus fund and reopening fund. And 10 months after the budget, these funds associated with the Canada Arts Fund are not accessible. This is $25 million we're speaking of. Festivals still have no idea what they'll be able to submit or plan for or when, 4 or 5 months before the beginning of the traditional season and almost a year after the budget. At best, they will not have any answers before their event planning. This is unacceptable. No one saw Omicron coming. Can we really return to our events this summer and get back to our original business models? In any case, we believe in extending support programs. That's our general approach, our philosophy, and it applies to the funds that we've just mentioned, as well as to C2 and everything else. Last July, I sent recommendations to the Standing Committee on Finance concerning the normality and normalization of the sector because we were hoping to return to normalcy. The idea would be to settle for good funding for festivals and events by making the 2019 investments permanent, renewed for the time being, 1 year at a time until 2024. In general, besides COVID, it must be said, things aren't going that much better in our sector. The government reinvested in 2019 from 25 to 40% in the 2 programs that benefit festivals, yet we have members calling now to say that they are receiving less than in 2018. I also stress the need to create a complementary program for economic development and agencies to support festivals and events by especially given their contribution to tourism and the economy. Festivals and events that are not per se cultural, not supported by Canadian Heritage, we should set aside $25 million a year for them. There's a whole category of festivals that are not supported right now. COVID reminds us how vulnerable they are. Our friends of the Canadian Association of Fairs and Exhibitions, for example, also support this request. In closing, festivals and events have seen their own revenues decline by nearly 90% in the first year of the crisis. Government revenues are their lifeline to help them keep their staff, present activities in these difficult times. If we want festivals and events after this pandemic, we need to hear from the field and from associations such as ours. And we must act on their recommendations quickly. There's a lot of distress out in the field. I will conclude by quoting an organizer who wrote me just a few days ago, "I'm discouraged, frustrated, and at the end of my rope." Thank you for listening.
And now we go to SaskTel Center with Scott Ford, Executive Director, speaking for 5 minutes, please, Mr. Ford. Mr. Ford. Is Mr. Ford there?
Turn my speaker on. Sorry.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
That might help, actually.
And good afternoon, everyone. Before I start my presentation, I want to thank the honorable members of the Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage and the important work you do on behalf of all Canadians. I also want to thank the Government of Canada for initiating and activating the numerous programs which have been a lifeline for our industry. The Canada Employment Wage Subsidy, the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, and many others. My name's Scott Ford. I'm the Executive Director of SaskTel Center, which is a 15,000-seat arena in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I have 30 years experience in the sports and entertainment industry as a venue operator and a promoter. And I'm also a member of numerous industries and associations. SaskTel Center is our facility. We are indeed a nonprofit corporation which operates under Saskatchewan Place Association, Inc., and we operate independently from the city of Saskatoon. We have 3 sports teams: the Saskatoon Blades of the Western Hockey League, the Saskatchewan Rush of the National Lacrosse League, and the Saskatchewan Rattlers of the Canadian Elite Basketball League. And for the past 15 years, our facility has ranked in the top 200 busiest arenas in the world, which we're very proud of, and we're probably the smallest market that has made that list. Our story is, I can tell our story here in Saskatoon. On March 11th, 2020, a decision was made to cancel the 2020 Juno Awards because of COVID-19. It was identified in Canada, and a case was confirmed in Saskatchewan. I was the chair of the Saskatoon Juno Host Organizing Committee, and it was one of the first events in Canada that canceled. What followed was the cancellation of all 3 of our sports teams' entire sports seasons, all of our 2020 and 2021 concerts and family shows. Through these cancellations infected not only my market and my building, but across Canada, every related sports and entertainment venues were shutting down and all events were being canceled. Almost 2 years later, COVID pandemic is still devastating Canada's live entertainment industry. The live sports and entertainment industry was the first to shut down and certainly will be the last to open without restrictions. We are, with gathering restrictions, disallowing fans in the stands, and to continue to offer an important service to our community, SaskTel Center provided the following services. We ran the SaskTel Center Hockey League, and numerous Saskatoon hockey teams could play out of our building for practice purposes only. We hosted the Saskatchewan Health Authority's influenza clinic. We operated a drive-in movie theater in our parking lot. We produced a drive-in concert, which featured Brett Kilsell and sold out 3 performances. We were the first Indigenous vaccination clinic hosted by the Saskatoon Tribal Council, which ran 3 months. It was a huge success. And we used the time to provide some technical upgrades to our facility, which included a new Wi-Fi system and a POS system. To date, SaskTel Center has lost $5 million. During various periods of time, we've laid off approximately half of our full-time staff and all of our part-time staff. Since August of 2021, we have began bringing back staff, but still have not filled all of our positions. Sports and entertainment venues across Canada will tell you a similar story. The devastation goes much further than our internal operations, though. The live event ecosystem includes everything that services the live event tourism industry, and all has felt the brunt of the COVID-19 pandemic. Since July 11th, 2021, Saskatchewan is allowed to host events. and large group gatherings, provided we follow the conditions of the provincial public health. The effects on the touring industry, ironically, is that if we can do shows in Saskatchewan, but other markets can't. So tours do not tour across Canada. And there has certainly been effect on everybody else. Live events are part of our fabric. They install civic and provincial and national pride. They release stress and are important to our mental well-being. People need to gather, they need to connect, and we need to celebrate. There is no playbook on how long the pandemic will last. I do know that there will come a time when COVID pandemic is a distant memory. Until then, the live entertainment industry will continue to need the help of all levels of government. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ford. Bang on it. So there you go. You just finished in time. Now I'm going to move to the question and answer, and I would really like to let everyone know that the first round is going to be 6 minutes for each party to speak with regard to a question and answer. But the question and the answer is 6 minutes. It's not a 6 minute question alone. So please be careful, members, when you ask a question, to leave time for the witnesses to answer. And witnesses, please remember that I will give you a notice when I'm going to shut you off. Thank you very much. We'll begin now with the Conservative Party. John Nater. John, for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the reminder of the 6 minutes. We've had a great panel of discussions this afternoon, and frankly, I think we could probably talk for several hours beyond the 6 minutes that we're entitled to, but I do appreciate the time that each of our witnesses have given us today. So I want to start with Mr. Moustakis from Drayton Entertainment, which of course, Drayton coming from beautiful Wellington County in the north part of my riding, so we appreciate the mothership being there, but of course Drayton spreads out across 7 theaters and does a wonderful job. I wanted to start with you, Alex. I want you to kind of talk us a little bit about how you operated prior to the pandemic and how you were funded, how you put on your productions, where that source of funding really came from, and how you operated pre-pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Well, as many of you in the art sector know, that the true cost of producing live theater is not reflected in the average ticket price. We rely on sponsorships, on fundraising, on just the box office, of course, is a big part of it, and a lot of partnerships. So we have a model of sustainability where we we split pre-production costs between multiple theaters as we move productions from one area to the other. And unfortunately, in March of 2020, that all came to an end overnight. Not only did we have to shutter the venues, but all revenue stopped, and not just ticket sales, but sponsorships and fundraising, etc. So it's been quite a hardship. The problem at the moment is uncertainty, and I'm sure everybody feels that. It's hard to, I'm on draft 200 of my potential 2022 season, and it doesn't change by the week; it changes by the hour, depending on the conditions on the ground. And it just makes it very difficult. I think my colleague, John Lewis, alluded to the fact that, we can't just open overnight. The creative process takes weeks and months and sometimes years. So we're not a typical sector where we can, the product can just go on the shelf. When we open up again, we can sell it. It's just not how the creative sector works. So those are the challenges that we face at the moment, Mr. Nader.
Thank you for that. And looking back, I mean, you mentioned a little bit in your opening comments about the economic impact. I believe it's north of 60 million. How does that look like on the ground? I mean, most of your theaters are in, what we might consider smaller rural, small town communities. How does that look like on the ground in some of these communities? The impact that your theaters and the performances have on the communities around them.
Well, a lot of the hospitality sector relies on us. People, in restaurants and overnight stays and transportation and so on to get to us. It is a partnership. We basically rely on each other, and that's been hard because we close and they close. It's a problem, and it's really affected the art sector as well because many of our actors, our musicians, and so on also lost their secondary industry as well, the ability to teach privately and to bartend and to serve tables and so on. But obviously, we have a direct impact. Attendance has a direct impact on tourism and the economy. Where our theaters operate in Ontario, I think the economic impact is over $82 million, and that basically stopped overnight.
Thank you for that.
You have 2 minutes and 11 seconds, John.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll try to make the most of my 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Looking forward, one of the comments that you made, Alex, was about destigmatizing and getting back to the theater. And I think that's something that I don't want to speak for everyone around this table and on Zoom, but I think we all hope that is possible. And I know you just mentioned, you're on draft, whatever, of the 2022 season. From our perspective, from a federal perspective, what do you need going forward? What do you need from us as a federal parliament, as government? What do you need from us to give you some certainty going forward? What type of whether it be programs or announcements or commitment do you need to be able to put on a 2022 season that everyone can be proud of?
Well, all my colleagues on this call have suggested programs, new programs, and to continue programs that are already existing. But I really believe we need messaging. The messaging has to come right from the top, and to let us know that it will be safe to gather again, because the nature of our business is communal, and we need to have consistency, obviously, and the fear of planning a season and investing in a season only to be shut down a few months later is really difficult. So messaging is really, really important to communicate to Canadians. And there's a bit of a disconnect because,
30 seconds.
Some of us who love to watch football last weekend saw 80,000 plus spectators without masks. And we think, well, why can't we have somebody in the theater to watch a play? So the messaging, I think, is very important moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mistakis. And now I go to the second round, to the second questioner. That is the Liberal Party, Tim Lewis. 6 minutes, Tim.
Thank you, Chair, and I want to thank all the witnesses for your time and for this very important conversation. I would like to direct my line of reasoning. Sorry, I have a bit of a buzz there on my mic to Mr. Mistakis, and let him know how proud so many of us are in our community in Kitchener-Conestoga, Waterloo region, and obviously beyond, the success of Drayton Theatre, starting with one employee and many volunteers, and that shared vision. It's really a jewel for our whole region. We talked about how much the pandemic affected everyone in every sector, and of course we're here because the live performance sector is really, really hard to hit.
Sorry, Madam Chair, point of order.
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Thomas.
Sorry, I know this isn't his fault, but maybe it's just me, but my suspicion is that it's not. The mic is quite static and a little bit harmful to the ears. I'm wondering if the interpreters are experiencing the same, or if other members are experiencing the same, if that maybe could be fixed.
Well, we will suspend for a second while we get that fixed. Can
Madam
that be
Chair?
fixed, everyone?
Madam Chair, I did the old turn it on, turn it off again. So I think, is that any better? Sorry.
We're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I had technical issues getting in, so I didn't get a chance to do a sound check. So
thank you. We will restart.
Thank you.
Go ahead. I will give you 5 minutes because you're down to 4:45.
I will do what I can. So I wanted to thank you for being here and focus my questions on Mr. Mistakis. When people see the stage, they see the actors, they see who's there, but we talk about behind the scenes, all those contract workers, the musicians, the designers, and more. Can you just kind of expand for people their numbers, percentage-wise, and the challenges of keeping them in that sector as we're waiting for things to open up?
Well, Mr. Lewis alluded to it earlier of how many technicians are involved in productions, and they are as important, in some cases even more important than what we see on stage. They make what happens on stage happen. And, we're worried about losing some of these skilled technicians to other jobs. And it's a little frightful. Myself, thinking about moving into the 2022 summer season, for example, I know already that I've lost a number of technicians, and it's going to be devastating to our sector because they come with years of experience, and you can't just train people overnight. You can't be a sound designer, a sound technician overnight. It takes years, and that's a real fear for all of us, I think.
No, I appreciate that. Yes, these are people who've trained almost all their lives to be in that profession, and when we talk to them, they want nothing more than to get back to work. But you alluded already about the communal nature of live theater specifically. That one of the issues is how long it takes to plan programming. You don't start these shows, and planning ahead. You need that longer runway. It takes a long time to prepare for these performances. And again, we don't know the timeline to get back, but you did mention, and I already previously talked about it, but I hope you can expand on how we can destigmatize that return to theater. You talked about a marketing and PR strategy. What measures would it take to get that confidence back? Like I said, how can we help? Is it funding? Is it straight up messaging? Would you work with associations, levels of government? What kind of things can we do to instill that confidence back when the time comes?
Well, I think it's all of the above, Mr. Lewis. We all need to work together regarding the messaging. We need support. Frankly, we're frightened to announce a season to only have it shut down again because it affects a lot of people, a lot of signed license agreements and payouts and so on. So a bit of certainty would certainly help to mitigate the risk. We've been trying to keep operating costs as low as possible, as many of you here have. But it's when we'll be able to have more confidence in gathering, and that's something that unfortunately it's beyond us at the moment, and that's what we need.
Well, yeah, agreed. With the time I have left,
You have 1 minute.
1 minute. I want to brag and say that the great work you've done. Our next generation of performers who haven't had a chance to be on stage for 2 years. Can you share a little bit of information about the Drayton Entertainment Youth Academy and that effect it's going to have on the next generation, on their mental health and our communities, so others can hear about it?
Yes, absolutely. We are under construction of a brand new facility. You talk about philanthropy, and this has come through individuals and corporations who believe in generational change and the future of our industry. We plan to teach not only performing arts but technical arts as well. As you know, unfortunately, arts programs in school are the first to be cut, and we're trying to fill a gap for the future.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Right on time. Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Champoux for the block. 6 minutes, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Merci.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the witnesses for coming to us here in the committee today at short notice, I think, and we're very grateful to you for your being able to be here. I'd like to go back to Mr. Roy's opening statement a little earlier. Hello, Martin. I'm so glad to have you here with us today. We did discuss this same topic in the fall of 2020. Has anything gotten better based on the recommendations that the committee made at that time? Yes, my pleasure, MP. As I have suggested before, a lot of work has been done. There were some very relevant measures that were announced in the 21-22 budget, as I said. But all said and done, they weren't necessarily set out properly and used properly. As I said at the outset, the initiative, the 200 million for large festivals and events, is not necessarily living up to all its promises, and the other $200 million, which includes assistance to local festivals, well, what can I say? That's problematic as well. It's not yet out on the ground. Right now, we're looking at celebrating the first year of the adoption of that budget, yet that sum hasn't yet made it out into the communities. So what's going on? There's also the public health issues. You know, as I do, that all measures are being taken to protect people's health, but I would like to plead on a scientific basis that, well, a precautionary approach has led us to cancel festivals and events over these first 2 years of the pandemic, but now we know that as long as things are outside, the risk isn't that high. A recent study from the University of Colorado, together with the Oxford University, has established that even with a large crowd and people being together for a rather long period of time, as long as this takes place outside, there isn't much risk, especially if all this takes place in a province where people have vaccination passports, especially if the passport calls for 3 doses, as is the case in Quebec. So, government measures should take all this into account. Public health, yes, but also destigmatizing the sector of the performing arts. We know that outside the risk is low. Same thing indoors, as long as people are masked and have passports. We know that in France, for example, the performing arts sector is alive and kicking as it is in Belgium. I don't see why it's not the case in Canada. There are countries where people feel that culture is a sector which makes money and isn't necessarily an expense to the government, and perhaps that's something we should try to emulate here. We have heard in a number of discussions with many representatives of the performing arts that what really counts is being able to tell what to expect. You can't organize a festival overnight in a couple of weeks or months. You really need to plan ahead. Now, we've heard that based on the committee's recommendations, the government is making some interesting budget recommendations, but now, month of February, you still don't have money and you still can't plan your next season. Yeah, you've got it. That's what it looks like. The initiatives supporting the large festivals managed by the local development funds and agencies has started to bear fruit just recently, just in the last week, actually. And if I may say a bit more about that initiative, yes, go ahead. The major festivals and major events programming, it took a number of months to get that up and running and out. So that's the time it takes. And I would ask the committee to really extend that initiative until at least the 31st of March 2023, because at present, people aren't really being given enough time to use the funding. By extending the entire program, it would be so helpful to so many. Besides that, when it comes to Heritage Canada, there are some recovery and reopening funds, but people don't know what the details are. That hasn't been shared yet. Some received checks in 2021 after they had held their festivals and run their events. How can you maximize investment, public investment, if you can't plan to use it before your event takes place? I understand that everyone's overworked, that there are special programming being added on top of the general funding programming of the government and so on. It's not that easy to get everything up and running and out. But look, checks need to be sent out and people need the support in some sort of sensible time. Now, we've been discussing the theatrical stage employees, all the experts and skilled performance workers, live performance workers. What do people really feel these days? What's the general feeling out there? People are discouraged. Let's say that you are the organizer of a festival, $500 million budget a year. What do you do right now? How do you keep your staff, your employees, people who are interested in working with you? What do you do with your programming for the upcoming year? You have no idea what the context will be. Will the public be allowed to come? Will people be coming from abroad, or will that be barred? We have no idea what to expect or how to plan. So that leads to problems in hiring, I imagine. Indeed, Heritage Canada has just announced a new Performing Arts Workers Resilience Fund. Do you think that this will be helpful? Is this sufficient? Well, based on what we've seen so far, as I said, we were so pleased to see the results of the budget when it came down, but since then, it's all about delivering this to the ground. Let's hope there's follow-up. We'll speak later, Mr. Roy. Thank you.
Very much, Mr. Shampoo, and then I move to the New Democratic Party with Peter Julian for 6 minutes, Peter.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thanks to all our witnesses for your very compelling testimony, and we hope that you and your families continue to stay safe and healthy during this pandemic. I'm going to start with Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis, thank you so much for your presentation. I have family and friends that are members of IATSE, and you do fantastic work. I have two questions to start. First off, you talked about the 160,000 members. Can you tell us the impact that the pandemic and the absence of certain programs have had on those 160,000 people that are Canadians employed in the industry? And secondly, you offered a number of suggestions, a revenue top-up, government insurance, and mentioned the United Kingdom and Australia as two examples where there's been a more fulsome response in those areas. Can you tell us where you see best practices internationally for the arts and culture sector that as yet have not been put in place in Canada?
Thank you, and thank you for the question. So it's been a bit of a strange year for the IATSE because, as everyone has said, there's going to be a real issue about retaining crew. And I can tell you, we were doing okay until the fall of 2021, and things were starting to reopen a little bit. There was a sense of optimism, and then with what I'll call the double whammy in terms of Omicron and the termination of the CRB, it had a dramatic and devastating impact on the industry. In terms of the mental well-being of my members, of people that work in the industry, it really was at an all-time low. I had never seen it before. We have rolled out programs to address mental health and well-being, because I had never seen that level of despair. Because usually around Christmas, it's usually a time for a lot of employment in the industry. And then just so the timing of it was truly devastating. We've had a bit of a rescue in the sense that we're seeing record employment. So the IATSE not only looks after people in the live performance, but also motion picture and television production. In 2021, we saw record numbers in terms of work. And so a number of our stage members moved over to film and television production. And quite frankly, many of them are not coming back. And that's just the nature of the beast. And I think, Alex and others have commented about people finding other industries to work in. And that's one of the concerns that we have going forward. In terms of other countries, we look at the insurance, and we did this in Canada. We did it for the domestic film industry. When there was an issue about coming back to work, the US studios didn't need it, but the Canadian producers did. We created this elaborate plan to support domestic film producers in terms of COVID-style insurance to financially support it. It was greatly used, and it was a great program and brought the industry back, the domestic industry back. That's what we're looking at. There was a lot of press about Come From Away shutting down. I'm equally as concerned about, the Harry Potter production that's going to come into Toronto. That's like a $25 million investment to get that thing on the road. That is a major investment. And without any kind of financial support, that is a very difficult decision for a producer to make, to put that show on, knowing that it could come crumbling down if all of a sudden there's a 50% reduction. And so that's the notion of an insurance plan to incentivize producers to go forward with their plans, knowing that there is some form of support. And that's what I think where we have fallen behind, where other countries have led, particularly the UK and Australia, and again, come from away. We're the only country where it shut down, and it continued to produce in the United States. It continued to produce in Australia and the UK. It was just Canada. It's sort of ironic given the nature of the story, but we need to be bold here. We need to be bold and to move forward.
Thank you very much for that. I just want to jump on one of your comments. The CRB was slashed with 72 hours notice. Devastating impacts in communities right across the country. What would be the one word or two words you describe about the abrupt ending by this Liberal government of the CRB? Would it be devastating, catastrophic? What were the impacts on your members to have that rug ripped out from under them with just a few hours, 2 days notice?
1 minute?
At the time it happened, we could see the light, we could see the industry returning, but then soon thereafter, it just came crumbling down. And then without that safety net, it was devastating. And again, I've been doing this a long time. I have never seen the amount of despair. And just, when you're going into the industry, it takes a lot of training, and it's really impacting our younger members, particularly diverse members who are just now starting to come into the industry. They're the ones that are feeling the brunt of this the most. And that's unfortunate because that's our future.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So devastating, and it has led to. I have 15 seconds, Madam Chair. I'm coming myself. So just as a resume, devastating, and you're talking about the profound impacts. Thank you very much for your testimony, Mr. Lewis. This is very important for the committee to know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Julian. And now we go to the second round, and the second round is different. Same principle applies, but our second round, it's going to be a 5-minute round for the Conservatives and a 5-minute round for the Liberals and a 2.5-minute round for the Bloc and the NDP. So I begin for the Conservatives for 5 minutes with Mr. Waugh. Kevin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I remember vividly March 13th, 2020. I was in my office 8 o'clock in the morning, and I phoned back home to SaskTel Centre as they were preparing for the Junos, which is Canada's music industry showcase. Mr. Ford, you answered the phone, 7 a.m. Saskatchewan time, and you had the news the Junos were cancelled. $9 million in my city lost on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday festivals. Can you talk about that aspect and as you were the chair, what it meant to not only SaskTel Centre, but the entire community of Saskatoon?
Sure. Thank you, Kevin. It certainly was devastating for our community. The Juno Awards isn't just an award show held at our arena, SaskTel Centre. It actually involves multiple facilities throughout the city of Saskatoon. And there's the gala dinner, there's the Juno Cup, there's Juno Fest, which is in all the clubs in that. And in total, it's approximately 30 different venues that host the Juno Awards. When you have an event like that is confirmed, it's doing great in your market, and 3 days later, and it's only 2 days away. Like the event starts 2 days later. And it goes down. It's devastating. It's devastating not only for all of our facility partners, it's devastating for our community. The economic spin-offs, as you mentioned, Kevin, it's an $8 to $10 million event for the city of Saskatoon, and the tap is turned off. Then you have to just recover. You recover from it. It was a very difficult time. I think that all the venues that were participating in it, they had shuffled events around to make their facilities available for the Junos, so they lost some business from other potential rentals. And all of the labor and the 1,000 volunteers that we had that had dedicated so much time and energy to be the ambassadors for our province and for our city, not being able to execute our plan was very difficult. So certainly it was a tough time for us. And immediately following that, Kevin, it's ironic that everything else shut down. That was probably the first big event in Canada. And it just seemed to snowball. And next thing you know, all the sporting events are closing down, and we still haven't recovered. So it's a tough time.
Well, that's what I want to continue, because our province is open. You held the Olympic curling trials in November. We're seeing the Scotties with nobody at all in the stands right now in Thunder Bay. I followed the National Lacrosse Saskatchewan Rush. Their crowds are down in half. So where does this go from here? How do you, in fact, as a facility bidding for events, even know how many dollars you put up, knowing that the attendance is half or even 3/4 down for what you've anticipated the event to hold?
Well, that's when we started bidding for the Canadian curling trials, we were anticipating crowds to be over 8,000 fans per draw. Curling in Saskatchewan is a hot ticket. Actually, curling in Western Canada is a hot ticket, and past Briars have achieved those numbers quite easily. So, and the Canadian curling trials is Curling Canada's #1 curling product. Certainly, it's one that they anticipate, and that association, like the Junos, those associations need these major events so they can actually fill their coffers, so they can continue to operate with their programming. The Junos and Curling Canada, they need these events to be successful. They need the ticket revenue and the money. We were operating under 3,000 fans per draw. It was, we were happy to have the event, but again, everything is underperforming. And it's not only is it affecting our national associations, sporting associations. We can talk about the World Junior Hockey Championships that's attempted twice now to run in Edmonton, that hasn't been able to get off the ground, and all of the work and the money that's gone on to producing those events and those events have actually either canceled or were done without fans. It's tough for the industry. It's tough for the associations that run these events, and it's tough for our promoters and our tenants. The Saskatchewan Rush of the National Lacrosse League in Saskatoon has the #1 attendance in the league. We were drawing over 13,000 fans a game. Now we're open for business, and we're drawing 6,000 fans a game. The Saskatoon Blades, we used to be at 4,500. We're drawing like 2,500. Everything is down, and I really think that there needs to be a national strategy to improve consumer confidence. What has been the message out there? The message has been consistently, stay away from crowds, work from
15
home,
seconds,
the various
Ford.
things. So the messaging, there needs to be a national strategy to improve consumer confidence. And I think there needs to be some continuity on what we can do for moving forward with regarding to touring shows and the major producers that produce these events.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Mr. Ford. We go now to the second question, and that comes from the Liberal Party, and it's Michael Coteau. Michael.
Thank you.
5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity. And before I specifically ask a question, I just wanted to say to the culture, heritage, sports, to all the sectors that are here today, thank you for what you've been doing. I know the culture sector and sports sector have been one of the hardest hit because of COVID. And I do know, like, for example, in Ontario, I got to spend a lot of time with the culture sector here in the province and the sports and athleticism sector. And we know that these are major contributors to our economy. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's participating today and for helping to build such a great country. We know that coming out of this pandemic, we're going to need things to pull us together as Canadians even more than ever. And we know that people are going through a lot of challenges, and culture, heritage, sport will really contribute to lifting us up and getting us back on track. I have a question for Ms. Hall from NIA Center. I just want to say congratulations on the 17,000 square foot space that you are championing as an organization. It's much needed. As we talk about many of the issues about filling existing spaces and keeping existing clientele. I know that it's been a challenge here in Toronto within the Black community just to find space to use. So different communities have been impacted differently. And you mentioned in your deputation that you've been building, as the pandemic moves forward. But I'm sure you've been collaborating too and working with other groups in the city and in the GTA and the province and across the country that may be considered the non-traditional groups, as you mentioned in your deputation. And I was hoping you could just weigh into how do you think other groups that share a similar background to yours are doing, and what are some of the other challenges they may be going through as non-traditional culture groups here in Ontario and across the country?
Thank you so much, MP Couto, for that question. I think that there is a challenge for a number of Black arts organizations who are obviously also being called on in this moment as we explore sort of our history and the sort of racial reckoning that's going on, to be able to participate in those conversations, to lead those discussions on how we create a more diverse and inclusive recovery. And there's, not as much resources to be able to do that, right? Folks are calling on them to source artists, to provide feedback, to develop equity frameworks, to provide feedback on upcoming seasons and such. And so there's an increased role and amplification of the work that they want to do and the work that they do in the sector, but just not enough resources to be able to actually play those roles effectively. Space continues to be an issue. Of course, we've seen the housing market across the country, and particularly in Ontario, the rising cost of housing puts pressure on other kinds of infrastructure. The cost to rent space in the downtown core versus where we are in sort of uptown is different. And so we want to create affordable spaces for smaller community groups to be able to, put on plays and use our space for exhibitions and when we can gather again. But space, even in the pandemic, in the small windows that we have to gather, whether it's for the festivals or cultural events, is hard to find and quite pricey due to some of the pressures that we're facing in Toronto. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to ask additional questions. So from what you've seen with different funding models, both at the provincial, federal, municipal, and different councils that provide funding, what can we do differently? How can we tweak current grants or systems to better serve the Black community or any of the communities that may not fit into the traditional model or relationships that exist between funders and organizations?
Great question. And it's one I feel well positioned to answer because I started off my career at the Youth Challenge Fund, which was a fund that was set up by the provincial government at the time under the leadership of Kathleen Wynne to invest in specifically Black youth in the inner suburbs. And so I saw firsthand what it looked like to partner with community organizations and Black youth working together to develop initiatives as well as capital, right? Safe spaces for youth to gather. And I think that we've seen that model replicated with work that you did around designing the Ontario Black Youth Action Plan at the provincial level. And we haven't sort of yet seen that kind of targeted approach, I think, taken by the federal government where there's work with an independent foundation or body. And I know that's within the existing federal budget to invest in a Black foundation. And I applaud that work and that motion and really eager to see it come to life because I think the foundation can do the work to partner with community-led organizations on the ground and ensure that some of the programs, I think other folks have spoken about this on the call, some of the programs and investments, folks are just not aware of them or don't have sufficient time to be able to create applications and get approved in Canada Council. And you have to, 30 days in advance be approved and create an application before you can even apply for additional funding, right?
So can you...
do we have one more? Please? We have one more minute, or are we done?
No, you're done. You're done
right.
with your time. Thank you. Sorry about that,
thank
Michael.
you so much for joining us today.
Thank you,
Monsieur Shampoo. You are now up for 2.5 minutes.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Roy, I'll get back to you from the Remy Association, picking up where we left off earlier. Of course, there have been several waves of the pandemic, and we've been able to hold regular discussions with a number of actors in the performing arts and art sectors throughout all of that in Quebec and outside of Quebec as well. Let's look at the programming that you have referred to. You've mentioned the festivals and large events funding and the recovery fund and so on. Do you think that there are a number of programs, support programs, that they don't adapt to the changes on the ground? That's a good question. As for us, what worked well for us were the horizontal programming efforts, programs that funding programs and that reached many people in different sectors, and then some that were specific to our sector. Thanks to all of these, we've been able to survive so far. However, the sector-based support have not been perfect out in the field, on the ground. They're not always adapted to our realities. When it comes to the initiative for large festivals and large events, these groups are being asked to invest in product development. I appreciate that sort of angle. It's much to be applauded. But if you have a house and you were being asked right now to add extra rooms to it when you're having trouble paying for your electricity, you might wonder, well, geez, what are they asking for and why? And that's sort of what's going on over there. Do you think that the programs, the support programs, are relatively well knit together? Do you think that the various departments and Heritage Canada are doing a good job of managing all of this? Getting back to what I was saying earlier, we don't necessarily understand why all festivals are being sent over to Heritage Canada. Some should be recognized for their effect on tourism and their economic weight. Not all are big economic movers, but some are. And for them, we feel that departments that deal with, more specifically with the economy, should be intervening as well. Good. I'll keep my questions for later. Thank you, Mr. Waugh.
Well, I'll go to Peter Julian for the NDP for 2.5 minutes. Peter.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. J'aimerais revenir, Monsieur Waugh, aussi.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I would like to get Mr. Waugh as well. What you've said is of some concern to me. We're hearing about the $25 million in funds that were earmarked in the last budget, but here we are, and that money hasn't been distributed. What are the consequences of this inaction? Here the government announces something, but so far nothing has actually made its way to the actual events themselves. So what's the effect of that? Are there some events that won't take place? Have some employees left the sector? So this is an unacceptable delay, to my mind. And what has the effect of it been? Well, the total lack of visibility we have. You know, we're sort of working in the dark in general these days, but this makes it even worse. The budget came down in April, and the initiative in support of festivals and large events took until November before they sort of made their way to the ground. And in September, we got details of what was announced in April. We were told that there would be a recovery fund and a reopening fund. Recovery fund, okay, we've seen something of that, but the reopening fund, we've seen nothing. So there's a lot of confusion. People no longer know exactly which way to turn or what to expect. When it comes to the reopening fund, it seems we must submit projects in order to sort of apply for the funding. But you need to have a project that you're able to put together. So you've got this $25 million, but we don't know whether projects make any sense at this point. Does this mean that cancellations of major events could occur because it's taken too long to get the funding? Is that the sort of consequence you're seeing? Yes, that might be the case.
de la santé publique.
Yes, well, that can be the case. These aren't optimal investments. If checks come in after the event is held, that's not very good management.
Mr. Roy, you are doing very well with your times here. Now we're going to go to a third round. I think we have time for a third round. And so the third round is a 5-minute round for Leslyn Lewis from the Conservatives. Ms. Lewis, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank all the witnesses for the opportunity that you've given us just to learn about your specific needs, the specific needs of your industry, and to better understand some of the challenges that you faced over the past 2 years. My question is to expand on Ms. Hall's answer, and I'm curious to find out if she was able to offset some of her strains by the economic strains by bringing some programs online.
Thank you for that question, MP Lewis. Yeah, I would say operating during the pandemic, we've continued to bring both young people who are interested in careers in the arts to workshops and programs online. We've offered new mental health programs for artists who are experiencing challenges, and through some of the emergency recovery funds, been able to offer them low-cost access to therapy, given some of the challenges that they were facing and pressures. And we've continued to work with other organizations to partner and use their space. So that has reduced the cost of operating while we are under construction. Construction costs, on the other hand, have increased due to the pandemic. Things like steel, things like having fewer workers on site, extending the period of construction due to the pandemic has been a real increase to our overarching capital costs. So some of those cost savings have just been moved over to ensure that we can open the space in the fall of this year. Really, I think our concern isn't necessarily operating during this time, but when doors open in the fall, we will have increased operating costs due to the need for tech directors and other sort of back of house roles. And so those are some of the challenges that we're looking to close and encourage folks to think about as we reposition and rethink about recovery and start to live in this new normal.
Thank you. And I'm assuming that the demographics that you serve and the individuals, the performers, et cetera, that they would be more overrepresentative from a racialized group. Is that a correct assessment?
That is correct. I would say 85% of our performers and participants are Black Canadians, but we also have representation from a wide variety of other racialized communities who participate in our programs and come to learn about Black artistic traditions.
And you had mentioned the Youth Challenge Fund. Now, I've had opportunity when I was at the Trillium to work on the Youth Action Fund, with I think is just a transition of that fund. And I found that the intersectionalities of dealing with not only the economic and other strains of COVID, I'm curious about some of the intersectionalities that you've had to address in dealing with these compounded issues.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously one of the serious issues that is, I think we're hearing widespread across Canada is the issue around mental health. Just a lot of the struggle with precarity, with not knowing, where your opportunities are. And that's really been compounded for Black artists because a lot of them were seeing significant opportunities to present their work in new spaces and see, do exhibitions, do shows. And we're quite excited about some of the ways in which their careers were advancing. And so, the closure of our spaces really meant that there's now a sense, is my career viable? Is it possible for me to ever rebound? And so there's a real sense of loss and grief that I think we still need to work through as communities. So mental health would definitely be one. Of course, in Toronto, the additional pressure of housing and affordable housing in our city, we are at risk of losing the ability for artists to live and work and create in our city because it is simply unaffordable. And so there's significant pressure, and I'm going to be working closely we're redeveloping our neighborhood specifically and looking at some opportunities for affordable housing there. But that's a real pressure point for ensuring that the creative sector and the artists that drive it are able to stay and continue to live in the communities that they're a part of. And lastly, I would say just access to working space for artists. Studio space is expensive. That's also, there's a lot of closures for artists to actually work out of. And so one of the things that we did during the pandemic is offer micro grants to over 100 artists to support them to access professional development, equipment, and supplies to be able to produce and work at home and really pivot. We call the grant Pivot Grant to help them and keep them working during the pandemic and be able to access the kind of supports at home that would help them to advance in their careers. So I would say those are some of the key priorities and issues that Black artists in particular are facing.
Thank you. There's 8 seconds left, Ms.
Oh,
Lewis.
I don't. I was going to ask. I was going to ask Alex a question, but that's fine. I don't think you can answer it in 8 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go now to Monsieur Schemp.
Actually, Madam Chair, if I can, point of order, if I can. I think we skipped over a Liberal spot in the second round.
We did not skip over a Liberal spot in the second round. There was only one spot for a Liberal for 5 minutes, and Mr. Couteau took it. So now this round, we're going to be looking at Mr. Biffle for the Liberal round for 5 minutes. Mr. Biffle.
Yes.
Point of order, Madam Chair?
Pardon?
Point of order, Madam Chair?
Yes, what is your point of order, Mr. Housefather?
Thank you. Madam Chair, I think if you look at the notes in the second round, you would have had 2 Liberals. You would have had a 5-minute round for the Conservatives, followed by a 5-minute round for the Liberals, following the 2.5 minutes for the Bloc and the NDP.
Indeed, we did do that, Mr. Housefather. The second round was a Liberal, and it was Mr. Couteau, and he took 5 minutes, and so he was not allowed. You're not allowed 2 separate 5 minutes for Liberals in any round. I'm sorry, those are the rules, Mr. Housefather. So you're out of order
course.
to continue. No, you're not. I'm sorry, Mr. Housefather. There was
Madam
round.
Chair, point of order.
Yes.
Sorry, I think if you actually look at the second round, I never got called upon, so I'm just curious as to why that was.
Your name was not on the list again of speakers. Mr. Watt took the 5 minutes for the Conservatives.
Yes, that's
point
correct.
of order.
Madam, sorry, Madam Chair, I think.
Okay, before we go,
Madam Chair,
I just would like to
raised
ask
a point
the
of
clerk,
order, and
I'd like
you're
to ask
speaking
the
over
clerk,
me right now.
No, I'd like to ask the clerk to respond to your point of order, Ms. Thomas.
That would be great. Thanks, Hetty.
Yes, thank you very much. If you'll just give me one moment to pull up the rounds of questions. In the second round of questioning, it is 5 minutes for Conservatives, 5 minutes for Liberals, followed by the Bloc and NDP at 2.5, and then another round of Conservative for 5 minutes and another round of Liberal for 5 minutes. So the second round was to be Mr. Waugh, Mr. Couteau, Mr. Champoux, Mr. Julian, Ms. Thomas, and Mr. Biddle.
I am sorry, clerk. I have here a premier tour, deuxième tour, and then I have troisième tour.
It carried over on the second page when I added
I'm looking at the
witness.
second page. So are you telling me that the Conservatives had 2 separate 5-minute rounds, and the Liberals had 2 separate 5-minute rounds?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, I am sorry because it didn't seem to be that way. That's kind of interesting. Okay, well then I will go to before I go to Ms. Thomas and Mr. Biddle for those 2 rounds, and these are very interesting rules. I have never worked under those rules before. But go ahead, Ms. Thomas, and then Mr. Biddle. For 5 minutes each.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I am just going to raise a point of order. This is not my talking time. These are not my questions. This is just simply a point of order. Madam Chair, you just spoke to my colleague, Mr. Housefather, and then myself in a very belittling and condescending manner when we raised a point of order, which is valid in nature and now has been validated by the clerk. The least you could offer is a sincere apology. That was absolutely inappropriate for you as chair.
I apologize, Ms. Thomas, and I apologize, Mr. Housefather. I was going by the rules that I had in front of me, and I did not see those two names. I thought there was only one round for the Liberals and one round for the Conservatives. And those are the rules I have worked under as chair. And I now find out that there are different rules for this committee. So there we go. I'm sorry.
I understand,
very
but
much
you can
apologize.
be respectful in your interactions with us going forward. Thank you.
I apologize, Ms. Thomas. So we are going to begin. I don't know that we're going to have a lot of time to go to a fourth round, so that I'll ask Ms. Thomas, would you like to speak for the round, the third round, the second round that you missed?
As indicated, I would.
Yes, well then please begin.
Well, point of order, Madam Chair. Given that intervention, I think Ms. Lewis took that slot, and we should probably move on. I think there was some agreement in the room that we swap the slot since the Conservatives went that additional time.
So are you suggesting, Mr. Biddle, that it is now we go into a fourth round where it begins with the Conservatives, which could be Thomas, and it goes to you who would be the Liberal? Is that what you're suggesting? I'm a little confused at the suggestion.
I think perhaps again, maybe the clerk can chime in, but I think the suggestion is that it's our slot at this point, and I would carry on.
Yes, well then, Mr. Biddle, you have 5 minutes.
Wonderful.
No, Madam Chair, I would ask for the clerk to clarify.
Clerk, would you clarify, please?
I'm not sure what exactly, Ms. Thomas, you'd like clarified. In your speaking slot, Ms. Lewis did go for the full duration of 5 minutes. In this second round of questioning, it would be a Liberal slot next, and then we could begin the third round of questions. But again, that's entirely at the discretion of the chair.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, given that Ms. Lewis spoke for 5 minutes, I will go to Mr. Biddle for 5, please.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I'd like to turn to Monsieur Julien. I don't think we've had an opportunity to hear from you. I was wondering if you could talk about Canada Performing Arts Resilience Fund and how you see that impacting the sector.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the member's question. I think that this fund is absolutely needed by the sector. We've heard from every single witness today about the specific needs of self-employed workers in the performing arts. So there are multiple needs that this fund can meet based on what I read in the guidelines, because it just came out 2 days ago, in terms of immediate emergency income support to begin with. But then the fund can also intervene in terms of providing training to the sector. But that's an area where I am personally slightly concerned. If we think, for example, about the shortage of skilled workers among IETC members, for example, if we have so few of these workers, how can we expect those who are experienced workers on the ground to be available to train newcomers? So I am skeptical of the possibility of this program to solve the labor issues that we have within the time frame that is imparted to the program.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Lewis, if I can ask you the same question in terms of the Resilience Fund, please.
Yeah, it's part of a broader conversation, because many people that work in this industry just fall within the cracks of a lot of government programs. EI, we're looking at, I know the government is looking at EI reform, and we really have to take a good look at that in terms of how it impacts gig workers and people that don't fit within that traditional definition of employee. And I think we really need to kind of look at the broader picture and how we can bring stability. The Resilient Fund will help. It's not income support, just so we're clear though, but it will help to keep people in the industry. And so, we're looking at health contributions that would otherwise be provided, because people are losing their health coverage now under the union various health plans. And looking at training, looking at mental health, there's going to be monies spent for that and for training. Training is something we do all the time. It's not just a COVID related practice. It's something that we do all the time, and we're going to continue to do so. But we are concerned. There's a long-standing history of senior people that train junior people coming into the industry. It's not done in a classroom. It's typically done on the job. And if you lose that experience subset, it's very difficult to bring people in a timely way so they can take over the reins, sort of thing. And it's something we are focusing on as we move forward.
Thank you so much. Turn back to Mr. Julian. I know Mr. Lewis talked a lot about additional supports, and I liked his idea about insurance, but I was wondering if you could talk about what you see that the industry needs beyond the supports that have been provided by the federal government and or provincial governments.
Thank you for the question. We think at the Canadian Association for the Performing Arts that a ticketing subsidy program is definitely worth considering. There is a lot of uncertainty ahead of the sector in terms of possible further waves of the pandemic, in terms of audience hesitancy. So even though venues are allowed to reopen at full capacity, we know for sure that it will take a while before we can fill those venues as we did fill them before the pandemic. So any kind of a program that would be flexible enough to make up for that gap in earned revenues for the sector would absolutely help.
Thank you. And Mr. Lewis, I don't know if you want to build upon your, I guess the same question, if you want to build upon your earlier answers in regards to additional supports.
No,
There's
I agree.
1 minute.
Employers make major investments in this industry, and it's a risky industry at the best of times. There has to be some form of insurance to provide some necessary support. And can I just say too, the federal government has been largely carrying the water on this as well. Most provinces, with the exception of Quebec, because Quebec did introduce a ticket subsidy program, but the rest of the provinces have really sat idly by and allowed the federal government to kind of carry the load here. And that's shameful. And that's something that we're focusing as we speak to your provincial counterparts. This is not just for the federal government to carry forward, but it's in cooperation and conjunction with the provincial governments as well.
Thank you so much. That's probably at or near the end of my time.
You have 30 seconds, Mr. Biddle.
I have 30 seconds. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I don't know that I can get a question and answer in that period of time, so I will ramble for the last few seconds and just say thank you to everyone who's here and the work you're doing, and I hope that we can be there and continue to be here for the industry.
Thank you, Mr. Biddle. I can then move now to Mr. Shampoo for 2.5 minutes.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This time I'll turn to Mr. Julian. Mr. Julian, you heard earlier Mr. Roy speaking of the important...
Yes, Ms. Thomas. Shampoo. The speaking order is supposed to go from a conservative to a liberal, each having 5 minutes, and then back to a conservative for 5 minutes.
I think we just did that. Mr. Waugh spoke in that round, and then Ms. Lewis spoke, and then Mr. Coteau, and then Mr. Can the clerk please give us the list, please?
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, if you look to the sheet at the start of the third round, it'll be Ms. Thomas, Mr. Biddle splitting with Mr. Lewis, Monsieur Shampoo, Monsieur Julian, and that will probably bring us about to the end of the meeting.
So the NDP and the Bloc do not have any round at all in the third round?
No.
Is that my understanding?
Madam Chair, it'll be Ms. Thomas for 5 minutes, Mr. Biddle and Mr. Lewis for 5 minutes, Monsieur Shampoo, and Mr. Julian. The only edit on the sheet for the third round will be that Ms. Thomas will be taking the place of Ms. Lewis.
Thank you. And who will be taking the place of Mr. Biddle? Mr. Lewis?
Mr. Biddle and Mr. Lewis were splitting the time, and Mr. Biddle had his round
minutes.
in the second round.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Then I am so sorry, Madam Chair. Let us go to Ms. Thomas, please, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. My first question will be directed at Alex. Mr. Mistakis, I'm just curious, one of the comments that you made in your opening remarks was with regard to the benefits that were handed out in order to help cover the cost of rent. But you said that when a building is owned, it makes it rather difficult because there's no benefit available for that. Can you just comment on that a little bit further? You mentioned the value of having an asset, having a building, and obviously, you know, that's something that you should be proud of and something that you should want to keep. But it would appear that you know, those industries or those businesses or organizations that have buildings were penalized because of that. They weren't given any sort of support to pay their mortgage. Perhaps you could comment on that further in terms of what the need is with that regard.
Yes, absolutely. We're a prime example of operating 7 venues around the province. And we also rent some facilities as well. We were able to receive rent subsidy for the ones that we rent, but we still had to carry the load for all our owned venues. You know, and you know, I've heard many times that the pandemic is going to destroy small theater companies, but we also have to look at the ones that have to operate 7 venues without putting a key in the door. It costs you $1 million a year in utilities and so on. So any assistance there would certainly help.
Okay. Thank you. And I guess a further question that I have then, just in terms of your overall operations, were there any sort of innovative practices that were taken on in order to help come through the pandemic on top? Whether that was, you know, innovation in terms of the way that you fundraise, or innovation in terms of the shows that you put on, or using technology in creative ways. Maybe you could just highlight some of those adaptive technologies that were put to use.
Sure. For our organization, being the exception to the rule, we receive no operating funds from any arts council or level of government. We have received some capital grants and so on. So it made it doubly hard for us. So we reached out to our stakeholders and our audience. One very successful campaign that we held an online 50-50, and in a year we brought in over $800,000 that helped sustain us. And that just showed proof of commitment by our stakeholders who want us to survive, who want us to come back. Someone mentioned earlier about online activity. Back in late 2020, we created an online 10-week hour-long episode to stay connected with our audience, and it was free. The first one was free, and we were I think had about 5,000 viewers per episode. We just launched this week a sequel to it, but this time we're charging $15, and unfortunately it dropped to 500 subscribers from 5,000 who accepted it free. So we have tried innovative ways to stay connected, and that's other than as a lifeline to our operations. It's really I'm really worried about behavior changing, right? Pattern of behavior changing, and losing stakeholders that have been with us for 30 years.
Yeah, for sure. And Mr. Mistakis, on that note, then talking about behavior and engagement from audience members, individuals who would come and watch shows, I guess I'm wondering then, that the government has said, that there's provincial and federal governments, have put various mandates in place, and there have been promises made, and definitely the messaging out there at all levels of government has very much been, get vaccinated once, get vaccinated twice, now get vaccinated 3 times, and life will go back to normal. Obviously, that's instilled hope, and then it's been disparaging immediately following, and it's just gone back and forth like this for quite some time. So, those individuals who are looking forward to coming back to theater, and for those individuals, who you work with within your company, are, what impact has this had on their mental health, their well-being? I'm not talking about the pandemic per se. I'm talking about the promises and then the reneging of the promises.
It's been very difficult, and most of us on this call who are arts activity leaders, they look to us for support. They look to us for all the answers, and it's probably the first time in our careers that we don't have all the answers. And we try and maintain as much hope as possible. So we look forward to an opening, only to be dashed with it closing again. And it's just the consistency isn't there. I understand it to some extent, but I truly believe we have to align the messaging for not only our own staff and our arts workers, but our audience as well.
Yeah, very fair. If you could put one request forward to the government, I guess, in that regard, in terms of consistency and anticipation going forward, what would it be?
Well, I would say it's the message that has to come from all our elected representatives and their communities that we need to maintain arts and culture in our community. I will say that arts organizations have a proud history and a proven track record for providing an excellent return on investment, and I encourage the government to keep investing in our sector, because at the end of the day, we need both sides of the brain, and we need the creative sector because it touches everything that we do.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you,
so much.
Mr. Moustakis. And I would now like to move to the Liberals for the second round, and that's going to be starting with Mr. Lewis.
Thank you,
For
Madam Chair.
2.5 minutes, Mr. Lewis.
I'll be splitting my time with Mr. Biddle. And yes, just to take add on to what Mr. Moustakis said, that yes, it's the creative class that's going to get us out of this pandemic. And so I really do, that's why we're here. I'm really happy to have this extra time. Mr. Julian, I was hoping that I can ask you to expand about that ticket subsidy idea, the program to make up for the gap in earned revenues. I've had a number of conversations with theaters, and they can't profit at less than full capacity. They can't put on shows at less than full capacity. So can you explain that? Has that been done in other jurisdictions, other areas, other parts of the world? Or, how can you expand on that idea?
Absolutely. So first of all, it's very important to insist on the fact that even in good economic times, the performing arts industry is not one that is designed to make loads of profits. Among not-for-profit performing arts companies, the profit margin is from year to year roughly somewhere between 0.5 and 1.5%. So the moment those performing arts companies are unable to sell tickets at the same level as they did before, it's impossible for them to make ends meet. Therefore, this has impact on the number of shows that they program, the scale of shows that they program, and therefore it impacts the entire value chain. So the strategic advantage of a ticketing subsidy scheme is that it intervenes where the bulk of earned revenues are made in the performing arts ecosystem, and then hopefully flows that money back to all stakeholders in the sector. As it was mentioned today, there is a ticketing subsidy program in Quebec. It is not perfect. It has been said that money actually doesn't always trickle down to all of the artists and technicians who were supposed to be benefiting from this program. So in any new implementation of such a program at a national level, it would be important to make sure that there are railguards to ensure that self-employed are compensated even in instances of cancellations.
Great, I appreciate that, and I appreciate all your times. I'm going to yield the rest of my time to Mr. Biddle.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I want to go to Mr. Moustakis. Talked a little bit about encouraging people to come back. And I think we're all in agreement. We want people to come back. And in the intervening time where we're opening things up again, it was amazing for me to go back and see live performances again. And we want to get back there. But I guess I'm struggling to, what's the message that government can deliver? Because if it's absent of health and the reality on the ground, will we fall back in terms of confidence? Because if the virus changes again, as it changed from Delta to Omicron, we're losing that confidence. And do you have that concern if there is a PR campaign that I think you suggested we embark on?
We attempted a couple of projects over the holiday season, and we had a mix of half the performances at 50% capacity and half at 100. The ones at 50% were the ones to sell first. We never went above 50% in the 100% capacities either. So the messaging is really about arts activity. It is about, for us in theater in particular, it's about the communal experience that Zoom can't really recreate. All of us would like to be in the same room right now. The audience that is missing out on that communal experience, as I say, an audience that laughs as one, as emotes as one. It's been proven our heartbeats, go into, they sync together, right? It's just something that's what we're missing. And you can't really recreate it, from your kitchen. And that's the message that we have to say, that it's time for us to gather, because that's the one thing we've all missed, the ability to be together. And that's what now every one of our audience members says, can't wait to be back when it's safe to do so. So that's the message that we have to send out. Follow the protocols. Have your vaccination cards, etc., and let's get together, and that's what it's really about. And then we will keep our arts workers and our actors, singers, dancers, technicians, because we do not want to lose them.
Thank you, Mr. Mistakis. And now I would like to ask the committee if you can stay for another 5 minutes, because I would like to give Mr. Shampoo and Mr. Julien from the other two political parties 2.5 minutes each to ask questions. I'm sorry, because what happened and the loss of that time was because of me, and therefore I would ask if we could make that time up to Mr. Shampoo and Mr. Julien. So if everyone's okay, I'm not seeing anybody going like this. So, okay, then perhaps I can ask Mr. Shampoo to begin for 2.5 minutes.
En vous remerciant sincèrement et en remerciant les collègues.
With my sincere thanks, and thanks to my colleagues as well for this opportunity. I had begun putting a question to Mr. Julien a little earlier about investments, the investments that Mr. Roy had spoken of earlier. You spoke of the Canada Fund for cultural heritage and sports support, or building communities through arts and heritage as well, feeling that this could help rebuild theatre arts and performing arts. And Mr. Roy said that he hoped that these programs could be made permanent and that they be further endowed to make them even more effective. Do you have anything to say about that? Thank you for the question. Such support programs have been shown to be very effective in support of the entire ecosystem of touring productions and performance in general. There's a lot of the ecosystem that takes place within a specific city that doesn't go on tour, yet there is also a good portion of artistic performance that has to do with touring. And there are touring circuits that make these tours economically viable while still ensuring that the carbon contribution of the touring is kept to a minimum. This allows for activity in a number of communities, and that's very helpful right across the entire performing arts chain. My colleague Mr. Roy mentioned that there have been investments in 2019 that were certainly much appreciated, and it would be a good idea to look back at that and consider adding to the sums to ensure that a more diverse sector of performing arts be able to access this funding in order to work with new clients then. I think the analysts have taken good note of those recommendations, and this is the sort of thing that might find its way into our report. Do I have any other question time?
Oh, ça, je pense que je suis capable de faire quelque chose avec ça.
Ah, very good. Mr. Julien, earlier you mentioned, and indeed it's something that we hear a good deal about, our technicians leaving the performing arts sector, a sort of a brain drain. Do you have any ideas about how we can keep them and how we can keep them here in the performing arts sector of Canada? I think that the Resilience Fund, for example, will surely have a positive effect in this regard. But I'd like to state again that we need to think of the recovery as a long-term project. Next year, we'll have to look at how long it will take to recover.
We go to the NDP. Peter Julian, you have 2.5 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair, and thanks to all members of the committee for the courtesy. I'd like to go to you, Ms. Hall. I was fascinated by you speaking about the micro grants and the pivot grant, and I'm wondering to what extent, what are the resources that you would need in order to do that on an ongoing basis? Because what I understood from your testimony is that this was a very, very effective way of providing supports to rising artists.
Thank you, MP Julian. It was a very effective way, and we actually had, a number of artists that we weren't able to support through the program. We had over 1,000 applications, and we're only able to support just over 100 artists with the resources that we had. And I'm hopeful that the new the Canada Arts Performing Fund that just recently came out will be an avenue for us to be able to expand those kinds of resources. So really it comes down to funding. That fund is specifically for performing artists, and we did receive applications across disciplines because we're a multidisciplinary organization, so would need additional resources to do that. We did as well connect with the Ontario Arts Council because they were quite keen to see how we had implemented the program and interested in the expedient nature in which we were able to deliver funds in just over a month from the point of application to it closing. And so really it comes down to, I think, us being able to secure additional funding to be able to direct that specifically to artists who are in need. And as well, we're also looking at partnerships to be able to support artists to move through in terms of digital recovery. So getting them more supports to build websites, move into e-commerce, and really ensure that we're supporting them and moving forward and building back better in terms of being able to utilize digital supports to move their businesses along.
Thank you very much for that. Je vais aller, Monsieur Julien.
And now we'll go over to Mr. Julien. Mr. Julien, you mentioned 28,000 jobs lost in this sector and suggested a number of solutions to us today. Is there anything else that this committee should turn its mind to ensure that these jobs are all recovered in the years to come? Well, I'll pick up on what I was saying to your colleague, Mr. Champoux. We will really need to take time over the coming year to think through the recovery. So the measures to begin on in April 2022 will surely need to be extended in order to be able to work on the long term with this sector, given that the recovery will not finish in 2023. You need to think of 2025.
I think that brings us up to 5 seconds left. Unless people can speak very quickly, I think I would like to thank the witnesses for coming. I would like to apologize once again for my own failure at understanding what was going on in round 2. And I am hoping that we will get it right the next time around. Thank you, everyone. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madame la Présidente, un petit...
Madam Chair, just briefly, if I may. Point of order.
No one has moved to adjourn the meeting, so I will allow you to have a very short point of order.
Ce sera bref, Madame la Présidente.
It will be brief, Madam Chair. I merely wish to point out that we have just begun work in this committee, but this week we saw that the interpreters at the House of Commons once again mention problems that they have had due to equipment which is used in committee meetings. It would be important to remind all members of the committee that it's very important to use the equipment that the House of Commons provides them with. I do believe we have strict regulations in this regard that should become more obvious next week. I think that we are given correct headphones that have been approved for interpretation use, and that out of respect for our colleagues interpreters, we do need to use them. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said, Mr. Shampoo, and thank you for saying that. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Chair.
Thank you. And again, final thanks to all of the witnesses for taking the time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.